mentioned at the beginning about your work with George Carman.
Yes.
You've got a wonderful book out, which I keep plugging. Here we go. Some of the stories in here. You worked with him for many years.
Yes.
We touched on this last time.
Yes.
There's a pattern, isn't there? With the people always say the cases that you assume are not going to get favourably resolved.
Yes.
George seemed to take whatever it was, and with his super charm and so on and so forth, he would twist it in a way. Many cases. Pick one of your favourites and tell us about it.
Well, I think certainly Jeremy Thorpe was a very interesting case. I wasn't around in those days because that was in 1979.
Yes.
I think later on, just to see him cross-examine, for example, Sonia Sutcliffe, who was the widow of the, still wife, I think,
yes, still
of
wife.
the Ripper.
Yes, George.
Or Janet
Peter Sutcliffe.
Peter Sutcliffe,
yes.
Sorry, yes. Just to see the way he cross-examined, or Jonathan Aitken in that.
So what was the secret? Because he wasn't sort of vicious in terms of things. What's the secret of a good cross-examination?
Some people thought he was vicious.
Well,
I remember Janny Allen did, and so did Gillian Telford.
Oh, you're right.
Well, he was vicious when he made that quote about David Mellor.
He was.
There is a man likened to an ostrich with his head in the sand, thereby exposing his thinking parts. I mean, brilliant turn of phrase, brilliant description.
Well, I think he was clever because he'd embarrass people with questions, but he wasn't embarrassed in asking them.
Right.
I mean, with Gillian Telford, she had to ask all about the incident in the Range Rover.
Yeah, tell us about that for people who don't know the case.
They were apparently on, I believe, the A1.
Yeah, yes.
And they were stopped by the police in the middle of an act of oral sex, apparently. They both denied it. Later in court, it was very funny. All the jury had to descend to the sort of courtyard of the Royal Courts of Justice to see if, in fact, you could have sex in a Range Rover. So the judge was there and all the lawyers. And first of all, they had two actors, and then they had two journalists.
Oh, I love it. How hysterical.
But it was very funny. And George was very clever. And of course, in that case, he suddenly had delivered to the court, by pure chance, a video showing Gillian Telford performing oral sex at a party.
Oh.
No, at a
and
party.
another.
A sort of
Was that her
party
party trick then?
Well, it was. I mean,
Please welcome today's party trick.
She was very drunk at this particular party, which was a private party, which she was entitled to be. But in fact, he used that to show that she was the type of person
that would do that.
So lowering reputation. So he was very clever.
And it is extraordinary. It was a defamation action, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And we've had a number of cases. There's a wonderful cartoon you might remember by Jay Bright.
Yes.
And they have a picture of a cow with the word litigation on.
Yes.
They have the plaintiff pulling the horns of the cow, the defendant pulling the tail, and the lawyer milking it.
Exactly.
Because the fees of lawyers are horrendous. And I don't know if the figures are out yet about Harry's case and Elton John. Have the figures come out yet?
I think 50 million.
50 million.
Then,
I remember that beforehand.
But Daily Mail was something different.
Yes.
I think the damages are only in the sort of single figures.
Yes, it's the lawyers' fees
but
which
it's
are the
the
difference.
They lost the case,
lawyers.
Yes.
so there were no damages.
No, but they were. No, I suppose they didn't feel they were damaged, but they were damaged.
Yes.
They were damaged because people, might have thought, well.
I mean, you make a good point, because normally the damages are relatively small, but the lawyers' fees, in this particular case, as you say, that they lost the action.
What is happening with now? What is so extraordinary? And my belief is this is what I think, and I think Harry has to leave America, because I think if he doesn't leave America, he's going to be in deep shit.
Okay.
Because he did lie about the drugs thing.
So you think this is Trump turning around? He doesn't like him.
I think the time is now. He's running out of time. Needs to leave. With Meghan, it's all to do with publicity and to keep herself in the public eye, whatever it's about. And here we're coming back, and I think we'll find now this is a dangerous situation, because she will find every reason possible to start using the her whatever card that she can, without using too many words. So she will do that. where they're going to stay, where they're not going to be in Royal Palace, I have a feeling,
Yes.
because I do know, when Rain Spencer was a great friend,
I don't know.
and she had a cottage on the estate, her estate, and that cottage, it was a Palladium cottage, which had about 4 bedrooms.
Right.
I mean, it was quite large, beautiful cottage.
That was in Althorp.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
at Althorp.
Yes.
And they did go there to visit
Charles,
Diana's
absolutely, yes.
grave. And it could, I mean, I don't know, nobody said anything.
No,
but I'm just wondering, where would you go
Yes.
if you wanted to be somewhere fairly safe,
Yes.
perhaps near family, and there is that Palladium cottage.
Oh, that's very good.
Which, in fact, Rain,
What,
she did
lived
the
in?
interior. No, she did the interior.
Oh, she did the.
design.
Oh, is that right?
She
Okay.
let it to Peter O'Toole.
Right.
And Peter O'Toole and a friend of mine called Anton Christensen.
Yes.
And Anton used to do those wonderful house parties, as did Peter. And because Peter and his sister, they took a lease on that. And so I often used to go up there. It would have been, of course, be the most perfect place
Right.
for them to locate to. I'm only saying that
Oh, no,
because
no,
I
it's
happen
interesting
to know
speculation.
it, and it's speculation.
Yeah.
It's not fact, and nobody's told
But
me.
don't be
is
surprised. Yes.
somewhere near
And you are the
schools.
first
Yes.
person
Schools,
I've
doesn't
even
it?
mentioned that to.
No, oh no, but well done.
Yeah.
We
I
chatted
thought they
privately.
were talking more about the Cotswolds.
They were talking about the
Yes.
Cotswolds, but I also have, because they do have that special
Yes,
relationship
exactly.
with Charles
Yes.
Spencer,
Yeah.
who's been a really good friend. And he's
isn't
been
he
on the show.
bringing a book out?
Yeah, he is
Yes,
about the
about-
true
so
things about
that's
Diana.
right, which he didn't really get on with her when she was.
Well, it is
they had a
interesting,
bit
and
of yeah.
obviously it's an anniversary coming up
Yeah.
at the end of this month
Yes.
for
Yes.
Diana's death.
Yeah.
And I've always said about sort of resolution. As you know, I do just as you do, more platforms
Yes.
than Paddington.
Yes.
So we appear regularly, and
Yeah.
I've said, look, Harry and Meghan, they will come back to the UK. We predicted it actually last week before they talked about the
Yes.
reverse
But she's
Brexit.
going to bring up that race card because everything that goes wrong for her from now on, it's going to be the race card. So, and she, of course, doesn't have a problem going back, except she doesn't have that many fans at the moment.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it?
And her programs are flopping, I gather.
Well, they had that Cookie Queen as the latest thing about Girl Scouts
Everything
making cookies.
Everything she's touched
But
has
Liz,
not
don't you
worked.
think in reality, I mean, you knew Diana as I did, I feel particularly, it's quite tragic that it has come to this, that particularly the two brothers, I mean, leaving Meghan out of it,
Yes.
that William and Harry have fallen out
But
so
she has
badly.
created that. She has created the falling
Yes,
out.
but perhaps
They
if-
weren't falling out. You know, when Harry, William were like that,
Right.
and
Yes.
Harry was very close to William
Yes.
and Kate, adored Kate, and they had a wonderful relationship until she got married, and it happened when with the bridesmaids
Right.
But if
and
there's
all
a
that.
chance to repair that damage before Charles,
It doesn't
leaves
matter
his life.
whether there's a chance or not. I can assure you that because of the type of person that we are dealing with here, who is so ambitious, unbelievably ambitious, manipulative, and focused all the time on her image and going forward, I can't see that whatever happens, it's only going to be a short time. And William's not stupid. William knows what went on. William was very careful never to be in the same room as Meghan at the same time, ever.
Right.
He felt those vibes, and he's a very sensible, intelligent person. And I'm afraid I can see no future.
but don't you think
No
she's got
future.
to change her behaviour? Because if she doesn't, she's not
What,
going to be
you
popular with the
can't
British public.
You can't change something. You can't take the spots off and think you've got
It
a
is
different
difficult.
animal.
I had
You
Dr.
can't.
Arthur Cassidy, who knows them very well.
He's
and
wonderful,
He's
yes.
wonderful. He talks
Yeah.
about the psychology, and he works on lots of these reality
Yeah.
programs. And he says, we talked about resolution.
Yes,
And a lot of it means that you sometimes have to say sorry even if you don't
You
think
do.
you're there.
exactly.
You do need to change because there's that sort of relationship. And I personally think it's very sad that two brothers who were originally very close,
Yes.
and with Diana's anniversary coming up, I would really hope they would bury the hatchet not in each other's head, but bury whatever differences there are.
But they had that
Admit there are problems
when they got
and deal with
together,
it.
when they unveiled that statue.
Yes,
Do you remember?
I do. And
I mean,
Charles
you
was
could
there then, Charles
cut-
Spencer.
You could
Yes.
cut the bad energy with the
It
knife.
was. They were as far away as possible, weren't
But
they?
perhaps since
But
then,
too much damage has been
yes,
done.
but since
Too much damage has been done.
So
People haven't forgotten.
Oh no, you're absolutely. So looking at that, you're both brilliant at advising people. I've heard the advice you give people behind the scenes, and they should listen more to Liz, and they should definitely listen to both of you actually. What advice? Because Meghan and Harry, they never miss an episode of this. What advice? What advice would you give them to make sure they, first of all, get back on the side of the press, because the press don't like them very much.
Yes.
But also the general public and also the royal family. Let's take both of you. Just start with you, Liz.
But they already have a string of PRs working
Yes.
on this. They also at the same time they do have various journals who do cover them and are their fan because it sells words.
Column inches, absolutely.
Absolutely. And therefore you're in a situation now. You're going into the mind of somebody who is already 2 steps forward all the time. You know, this was all planned from the last visit. This is actually a dangerous situation for our monarchy. It's a dangerous situation for William and Kate.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says. I can't see how this can be resolved because you're dealing with somebody who is, I think, narcissistic. I think has a plan, and I think will do anything to continue being the most famous woman in the world, you know, bigger profile than Angelina Jolie, and more column inches than Princess Diana.
Yeah, and it's interesting, there is a talk of an acting role she may already have over here, so we'll have a look at that. So you think there's no hope at all?
I can't see any hope.
Okay.
I mean, and even if something happens, it's going to be a limited time, in exactly the same way as when she came over. I mean, I knew too much about what was going on behind the scenes. I think I told you.
And you're very discreet, so I know you won't disclose that. But
I
yes.
really did. And even Buckingham Palace and the press office, a lot was known at that time.
Yes.
There was nothing they could do about it.
Okay, interesting. No hope at all. Karen?
Well, I think they've got to move beyond their own ambitions, and they've got to realise that if they come back here, whether they're using the royal title for...
Karen, they're not going to. Meghan is not going to do that. She is very ambitious, and she's going to continue being ambitious, even if she has to bite her tongue for a year. But she is not going to change.
But Harry, for example, I remember when Princess Diana and I had the same tennis coach, and I remember when he was very young, and he'd always play around on court, and I've known him over the years. He's a fabulous person.
I put on his first mega revenge.
Oh, did you? What was that?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Amazing to go over the whole place. He was fabulous, charming, fun.
He is
great person.
And what he does,
he has changed since he got married.
And every time people are rubbishing him, I always bring up 2 things. Is one, what he's doing in mental health. Because I always admire anybody in the public eye. I want us to be the generation that speaks about mental health, so the next generation doesn't suffer the stigma. And the other things in the Invictus Games, both of those he should be applauded for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I just feel that there's a chance. I mean, if she wants to stay with Harry, of course she may not. But I mean, if the marriage is to carry on, I think she's got to change. And I know you're saying she can't. I also think that after all, the king is very important if they come back to this country. In America, it may not matter, but after all, he is the king. And I think he can exercise some influence. And I think if they want to have a relationship at all, they've got to comply with...
Charles, it's already affected his health.
Yes.
We don't know to what extent his health is now deteriorating. We don't know any of that. And the problem is, the more aggravation you get, the more stress. It doesn't help your cancer situation.
Yes.
But in this particular instance, you know, so much was already known, and so much damage has been done.
Yes.
And I can only see this will create even more damage.
And that's very sad. I mean, again, what I was talking with Dr. Arthur Cassidy about, he said it would be good for the king if there's a positive, if this is the return of the prodigal son, that's good for your health, is what he was thinking.
Exactly. Even if Harry and William don't have a good relationship, or
Shakespearean is their relationship, isn't it?
I think eventually, you know, Harry will grow up.
Yes.
Harry may have learnt a lesson.
Yes.
or is learning.
I think he has, yes.
But he is still married.
Yes.
And whatever there are lots of rumours which need to be ironed out.
Yes.
There is a big rumour about whether those children actually came out of her body or not. I mean, that is a significant rumour. There's another rumour.
Well, of course, Lady Colin Campbell's written a wonderful book about the...
Every day.
Yes.
Every day.
And a podcast every day.
I mean, her podcasts are phenomenal.
What does she say? Just remind people.
Oh.
It would take too long.
Every day, yeah. Well, she has said, I mean, this is a very dangerous situation.
Yes.
It's the plan, and she can read Meghan like a book.
And she really knows what she's talking about, doesn't
she? She had a narcissistic mother.
And so she thinks she's not. In the interest of balance, because obviously Meghan's not here. Well, and I spoke to some of her friends as well, some people who are on suits. So Abigail Spencer, for example, I had lunch in Cannes, named or whatever it is. But she would tell me all the nice things about Meghan behind the scenes, because there's good and bad in everybody.
I'm sure.
And it must be horrendous if she were the mother of the children, and people are spreading those sort of rumours, and it's not founded.
They're not being spread.
Okay.
They're not. I mean, according
she can always sue.
According to
do you know any good lawyers? Is that what you're saying?
If it was untrue, she would have probably sued by now. I think.
Gosh, absolutely.
Yes.
And as Georgie said, sue me. Sue me.
Yes. Well, she knows that she knows the truth.
Of course she does. Absolutely. And so if Meghan wants to sue her, why doesn't she?
Well, and absolutely, and she's not here to defend herself.
No.
We'll work on that sort of basis. It is.
Perhaps she'll come on your show.
She will. She's coming straight after you. I always give you two top billings. Straight after. Absolutely. So it's a question.
Yes.
And I think if you can have questions, back it up with evidence.
Completely.
Make sure all sides are represented, and that's what we like to do on the show.
But you're going to find this is going to grow.
Yes.
So this is just the beginning.
Yes.
It's just been the announcement.
Yes.
Now you're going to find there will be stuff coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
you're going to find that people are going to insist on getting the truth.
Well, you're absolutely right, especially now the press have had this victory.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to affect the relationship with the press? Do you think they're now going to go after them even more, or do you think they're going to say that's enough is enough?
Well, I mean, if you read the last week,
yes,
the Mail's You magazine, was
Yes,
it?
yes.
And they did a very fair account of what Meghan has and has not achieved, and it was very fair, and it was balanced. I mean, it wasn't spiteful in any way. It was a journalistic report, and it was very well done.
Well, I think the Mail would rather work with them.
yes, absolutely.
Well, because
Then
they
against
sell
them. Yes,
newspapers.
exactly.
Sell newspapers. And Harry, I can't understand how Harry could be so stupid as to being told virtually, you're going to win this. You're going to win this.
Well, I'm surprised about that too, that they actually
Unbelievable.
proceeded thinking
Do you
that they
think
were
he thought, well, he's a prince, so he's a member of the royal family.
But it wasn't just Harry, it was Elton John,
Well, Elton
it was
John,
a whole
right.
load of...
But
I
they
mean-
were relying on the fact they had Prince Harry.
Well, it was a number of other things, and I think this is what's interesting about the legal fees on this, because they will go into the millions.
Yes.
I've heard figures of 50
Yes,
million
yes,
and so on and
absolutely,
above.
yeah.
The question is who pays for that.
Well, exactly.
People all say, oh, Elton will dig in his pocket just because he's got the money.
He may not.
He may not.
No.
I mean, you've
Well,
worked
Harry
with...
still
Yes.
has a lot of
Yes.
money.
Not that much to
But he
get rid
would
of.
he
want
still
to
has
use
quite a
it
lot of
to
money.
pay that.
But they obviously don't have enough money to continue in Montecito.
Yes.
That was absolutely bleeding money.
Well, of course, the Mail might do a deal for a few interviews.
Oh, there you go. That's the way. Absolutely. So, what a great idea. We'll broker that deal. Instead of the 50 million, the legal fees, write a few articles. There we are.
Yes, but the legal fees are separate.
Yes.
The Mail, I think it was, as I said, it was either single figures. I don't think it was a lot.
Oh, they had quite a lot of costs.
'Cause
But
I
David
read it this
Sherburn,
morning.
of course, is
Yes.
an expensive KC. But of course, again, I don't know all the facts, but I'm surprised that if he actually said there was a very good case and they went ahead, that they
Do
actually
you think
lost.
he said that? I don't think he said that. I think everybody advised him not to go ahead.
Well, I think they must have advised not to go ahead because
Even the
Otherwise-
judge.
Well, the judge.
Yeah.
But isn't it?
Even the judge.
They've had
Well, it
some
was a-
victories, haven't they?
yes, it
They-
was a classic case of
Yes.
mediation or to settle.
Yes.
But for
So-
whatever reason, they went ahead. Now, whether it was that Harry wanted to go ahead, maybe Elton didn't want to, but they were all linked together.
And I
had
sat in
to.
on some of the case. I
Yes.
heard some of the evidence.
did you?
Yes, and it's always
Oh,
interesting.
yes.
But these things go on. The thing about the press,
Yeah.
you get the headlines. It's a few
Yes.
column inches,
Yeah,
and it's summarised as a case which goes
Yeah.
on forever,
So
for many, many weeks. And they have to effectively prove
Yes.
that this is what happened. This is how they obtained
Yes.
the story. And they basically didn't reach the necessary threshold to make that proof.
Yes.
Is that a fair summary?
Probably,
Yeah.
yes. Yes,
That
I
is
think
interesting.
so.
Well, the sun, we've shone.
And the sun's
And the sun's now
come
coming.
out. Wonderful.
Liz, Karen, thank you so much
Thank you
again.
very
Regulars
much.
on the show, you will be back. But for now, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Andrew,
you.
very
It's
much.
wonderful.